Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully you're safe. Hopefully you're warm. I know the power's out. Hopefully everyone's has been able to make it through, I should say, the weekend without any harm. Weather's beating everybody down, but we'll keep in a good thought for you out here on the West Coast. Hopefully everything has gone as well as it could. You've got food, you've got warmth, you've got family, you've got friends, you've got each other. And we're here to bring a little bit of levity to life here with Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Ray Flowers right here. You can follow me on Twitter, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, all the social media spots at the Ray Flowers. You can find me here Monday, Thursday, Friday. Why am I not here on Tuesday and Wednesdays? Come over on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. So that's Monday through Friday here at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Justin Fenchman hosts on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Excuse me. From 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Excuse me. Geez, once again, hold on. I don't know why this happens. That's like the third time that's happened the last month where I've gotten as soon as the show went live. Sorry about that. I apologize. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're here at 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're also on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. I'm not here Tuesdays and Wednesdays because I'm with Jeff Manns on his show Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So Monday here, Tuesday, Wednesday, SiriusXM. Thursday, Friday here. But again, we are here Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time all week long. What do we do here on the show? Well, we talk sports. Welcome to those of you that have been around for a long time, that have been followers with us, supporters with us, actual users of the product over at FantasyGuru.com. For those of you that aren't, that just like watching the free show, maybe you'll get inspired to get involved with us over at the website, but welcome to you as well. Morning to Angelo, Ethan, Henry, Greg, everybody out there, the crew, always positive, which we love here as well, or at least I love. I love the fact that we don't have our folks in chat yelling at each other. There is a chat. You might be saying to yourself, there's a chat? Yeah, there's a chat. 3 places there's a chat. 3 places you can watch live or on demand. And in those 3 places, you can leave comments and questions for me. You can discuss things with other viewers of the show. YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Twitter X @FantasyGuru site, and Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. There's also 2 other places where you can easily, or multiple other places actually, 2 other spots, 2 other zones, where you can listen to the show in podcast form. Just go to FantasyGuru.com at the top of the page, click the Elite Plus tab in that toolbar at the top, Elite Plus. That'll take you to the old shows in podcast form on the website. You can just listen right there at FantasyGuru.com. It's free. You can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily wherever you listen to podcasts, YouTube Music, Apple iTunes, Pandora, Spotify. Type in Fantasy Sports Daily and listen to us there. So many ways to get involved with us on the show. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Again, we're rocking and rolling for y'all. Monday is the only day where it's just one of us. Mondays is me solo. The rest of the time, we have our experts from FantasyGuru.com join us. All the guests joining us from Tuesday through Friday join at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we have a lot of fun here on the show. But Mondays, it's just me rambling. And here's what I'm going to ramble about. We'll throw it up on the old screen-a-rooney. We're going to talk some NFL conference finals, Patriots, Broncos, Rams, Seahawks. You know how it went. We'll discuss it a little bit here going game by game to start the show. We'll talk a little bit more about the MLB draft guide, which is available right now. Go to FantasyGuru.com. Click click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. If you have any questions, send an email to support@FantasyGuru.com. If you have any questions, again, support@FantasyGuru.com. And we'll get you hooked up for the baseball product, for any product, actually. We'll talk more about that later in the show. We'll talk about the rankings that are available right now at FantasyGuru.com for the baseball product, the rankings that will become available soon at FantasyGuru.com. We'll talk a little bit about projection models. Are they really as good as you think? And for those of you that have been with me for years, thank you. And you know the answer. They're not. So we'll talk a little bit about projection models here. We'll also talk some MLB news. What are the Astros doing on the infield? What about Sal Stewart? Is he going to find a spot in the Reds lineup? Justin Steele, Andrew McCutchen, Craig Kimbrel, and Yu Darvish. One of those guys, is probably going to contribute in 2026, maybe in the second half. The other three, we'll talk about the old veterans here on the show. Let's see here. Got a comment. Good morning, Ray. There are two outstanding games yesterday. Both high and low scoring games can be entertaining. They can. I think most people, to Eric's point, pretty sure most people preferred the games with the offense, right? But that does not mean you can't have a good football game, a low scoring game. And we had two wildly divergent games to that front, as Eric mentioned. 10-7, the Patriots victory over the Broncos that we'll talk about here just in a second. And then the Seattle's 31-27 game against the Rams. Interestingly enough, in the Seattle-LA game, Seattle was the best defense at football, Rams best offense in football. How'd that go? Well, both teams scored a lot of points. But anyway, back to the Patriots side of things. Patriots won this game 10-7 over the Broncos to advance to the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people are tired of seeing the Patriots. I totally get it. Time for new blood and everything like that. Problem is, they got a new head coach. They've got a new quarterback. This is kind of a new team, right? So it's the same team, but it's kind of a new team. Anyway, they battled their way to the finals, defeating the Broncos 10-7 in a game where the weather really impacted things in the second half. Though to say it, and I've seen a lot of other people say it, it's football, man. And you can't use the weather as a Broncos fan to say, well, we lost because of the weather. Can't do that. As a Patriots fan, you also got to understand that the weather did help, but it's not the reason you won the football game, right? So let's talk a little bit about it. There were multiple storylines here. Mac Hollins returned from injury for the Patriots. That's nice. So they'll have their full complement of receivers, it looks like, for the Super Bowl. But the two main storylines to take away from are, one, Drake May, and then two, what's going on in the backfield with the Patriots. Drake May ran for 65 yards and a score. Nice. Threw for 86 yards, hit less than half his passes. Now, the Broncos are a really good defense. They generate huge amounts of pressure, one of the best pass rushes we've ever seen in terms of generating sacks. The weather was an issue in the second half of the game in particular. But Drake May now has taken a pounding in these playoffs. He continues to get sacked. What has he been sacked 5 times every game? Something like that. I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me. It's a Monday. Give me a break. But he's been harassed in the playoffs. He has been a little uneven in the playoffs given how good he was during the regular season. Now, beating up on teams with the easiest record in football, with the easiest schedule in football, is different than gritty playoff games, right? And we're seeing some of that. And, May is still a young quarterback. I saw a note that May will be the youngest starting quarterback in a Super Bowl since Dan Marino in 1984. Like, it's been a long time since we had a guy this young in the Super Bowl. So kudos to him and the team. But he's been a little uneven here in the second in the second season, as they say. Greg says the Hawks will destroy poor May. We'll see. But the Broncos defense, excellent. The Seahawks defense, though, yes, they didn't show it. Also an excellent group. Really, the Rams, the only team that's beat the Seahawks defense this year, really. They've done it a couple times. But anyway, we'll see how things go with Drake May. And that's going to be a real storyline. Now, the weather won't be an issue, obviously. Duh. We're out here in San Francisco playing. Well, for those people that don't know, it's actually not San Francisco. It's Santa Clara. So it's like 30 miles from San Francisco. So interesting enough, those of you flying into SFO, which is the airport here, will have to go south instead of north. SFO is not in San Francisco either. So the San Francisco airport's not in San Francisco. Technically, it might be South San Francisco. Maybe they call it that, but it's if it is, it's 37 seconds away from the next town, which is Millbrae. So it's not really in the city either. So basically, when you're used to coming in, you come into the airport in San Francisco, you land, it's a 20-minute cab right into the city, right? Now it'll be a 35, 40-minute ride down to the Santa Clara. So a little bit longer for those of you traveling. But the game shouldn't have weather. Now, again, you never know. But it's cold right now in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, and it's 45 degrees. So we shouldn't have weather really impact this game, which should help everybody. But Drake May will continue to analyze this, break it down in articles and discussions over at fantasyguru.com, because this is, this guy might be the league MVP this year and hasn't been overly terrific in the playoffs. Now, on the ground, Trevion Henderson was a nobody to start the season. We all got upset with that. He then took an opportunity and ran with it. in the backfield for the Patriots, and he was a must start in the fantasy space. Then late in the year, here comes Ramondre Stevenson scoring all these touchdowns down the stretch. Then we get to the playoffs, and it's more of the same. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson had 25 carries yesterday. He also had 2 targets. Trevor Henderson had 3 touches. And this is the second game in a row where Henderson's basically been mothballed. He's basically a breather back right now for Ramondre Stevenson, and that's wild. For those of you, such as myself, that'll be continuing to play those one-and-done leagues, maybe you have both backs left. Maybe you don't, right? So we'll continue to, again, break this scenario down. Should it be another game in the Super Bowl against that tough Seattle defense where it's 80% of the touches for Stevenson and 20% for Henderson? I mean, at this point, that kind of looks like a good game for Henderson. It's really interesting how Trevion Henderson has been handled this year. And ultimately the Patriots are in the Super Bowl. But not using him early, then using him a lot, then not using him late. Like, it's just a weird, and that can't make you feel great, to be honest. I think Stevenson's still under contract. Can't make you feel great heading into next season. On the other side of things, the Broncos, obviously this game was marred by the injury to Bo Nix. He had surgery. He was there. He was in the press box, the whole thing. Jared Stidham made his first start like in 3 years, 4 years. I don't even know when his last start. He hadn't thrown a pass in multiple years in the NFL. And there were some nice plays and some poor plays, obviously. A lot made about the lateral, not lateral, fumble, not fumble, forward pass, not forward pass. He made that horrible decision late in the game that, in essence, ended the game when he threw that terrible pick. Backup quarterback who hasn't played in 2 years. I mean, Harvey had the backfield lead because though we thought potentially J.K. Dobbins could play, we'd heard J.K. Dobbins was going to play in the AFC Championship game if they made it there. We heard that storyline from the Broncos, a month ago? Didn't play, wasn't active. But anyway, they weren't able to move the football really at any point in this game effectively. Harvey had 37 rushing yards, 4 catches, 22 yards. Marvin Mims, 4 catches, 62 yards. Pat Bryant got hurt again. Cortland Sutton scored a touchdown, only caught 3 balls, but he scored a touchdown. Basically had identical seasons the last 2 years for the Broncos. Peyton should be back next year. Nick should be back for week 1 next year. Sutton will be back next year with his big contract and should be expected to basically post the same numbers for a 3rd consecutive year for the Broncos. Just not a lot to see here. And it is a poor ending to a season that went so well for the Broncos, but they were always under a little bit of a stressor there with Bo Nix on the sidelines. On the other side, this game was really interesting. Seattle defeats the Rams 31-27 to go to the Super Bowl. So this will be them just driving down the coast. So it's pretty nice for them versus the Patriots. Obviously, they'd have to fly across country. On the Rams side, Matthew Stafford yet again tore up this vaunted Seattle defense. He threw for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns. Great game. Statistically. Now, there were some early and late, kind of, middle of the game. He played really, really well. But huge fantasy numbers there. Puka Nacua, 9 for 165 and 1. Did he get out of bounds on the last play? I think they got the call right where he was down just in bounds to allow the clock to continue to end the game there. They would have had a shot to throw a Hail Mary up there and potentially win the game. But Nacua with a huge game. Devontae Adams, 4 for 89 and a touchdown. Of course, he had a short yard. How was it? 3-yard touchdown, 2-yard touchdown, of course. That's like his 10th touchdown in the green zone this year. Just insanity. Colby Parkinson had a nice game in the sense that he caught 3 balls for 62 yards. Also dropped the pass right in his hands on 3rd down. That was kind of rough. Blake Corum caught 3 balls and had 9 carries. Kyron Williams had 10 carries for 39 yards, but he had a receiving touchdown where it's kind of a pick play. The Patriots kind of lost him. Leaked into the end zone. No one's really covering for a touchdown. So Nacua, Adams, and Williams all scored a touchdown. When those 3 guys score a touchdown and your Matthew Stafford throws for 374 yards, you say that before the game starts, you think the Rams win, right? I mean, really? They didn't. They fell to the Seahawks 31-27, as we've discussed. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold went for 346, 3-0. Sam Darnold played a really good football game. He spread the ball around. He used his athleticism enough in the pocket to slide away from a couple of times. He looked like a doofus, but he did a very good job extending plays, just enough to get guys open. Great play calling by Seattle. And Seattle, basically took it to the Rams. They just took it to them. And the 346 and 3 was obviously highlighted by the 10 catches, 153 yards and a touchdown for Jackson Smith and Jigba. A lot of a discussion on the broadcast, if you didn't see it, about Tom Brady talking about a shoulder level, his pad level. Talking about when JSN's making cuts, when he's running, when he's turning left or right, or when his shoulder pads level stays even. So it's hard for a defender to read his body. It's like in the old days when you were playing basketball and your coach said, don't look at the guy's shoulders. Don't look at his knees. Look at his waist, right? Wherever his waist is going is where he's going. JSN does a really good job, I guess. I haven't broken the film down from that direction. I'm not Tom Brady. But he did a very good job of keeping his shoulder pads at an even level to not give away what he's doing. Anyway, huge effort for him there. Rashid Shaheed had that huge 51-yard catch right near the start of the game. It was the only catch of the game. Ended up second on the squad in receiving yards. Receiving touchdown for Jake Bobo. For his one catch of the game was a touchdown. Good for Bobo. Another 4 catches for Cooper Kupp for a touchdown. Good for him. A revenge game against the former Rams. And I've seen it mentioned a lot in Discord. And, Zach Charbonnet's out. He's got the torn ACL. Kenneth Walker had a rushing touchdown. Kenneth Walker had 4 catches for 49 yards. He had 110 yards from scrimmage. He had 4 catches. He had a touchdown. Another huge game for Kenneth Walker, making plays out of nothing yesterday. If you didn't see the game, like he was getting hit at the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage, spinning away, spinning out of tackles, bouncing off tackles, and turning a 1-yard loss into a 4-yard gain. Like he did an excellent job after contact yesterday, doing what he could do. Hold on a second. Doing what he can do, which is be a really good running back. Really disappointing he didn't get the opportunity more for the season. We all know this with FG. We were big proponents of Kenneth Walker this year. Too much Zach Charbonnet. We are seeing why we said that all off season. Clearly, Kenneth Walker's a more dynamic back than Zach Charbonnet, and it's not very close. But the bottom line is right now, Helani got to see the field a little bit. Cam Akers was barely out there, but Walker played like 2/3 of the snaps. He had all the touches, 20-plus touches, and should be looking at a similar workload in the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. I see this from Ethan here. I've been frustrated with the backfields in New England since Stephen Ridley. Not Calvin Ridley, Stephen Ridley, the running back, as he correctly points out, Ethan. Yeah, it's been an interesting, mix and match. A lot of teams are that way anymore, right? The mix and match thing. But, yep, absolutely can be a frustrating thing as a fan, as well as in the fantasy space, which we're well aware of. Okay. Sucks in baseball. And again, we're still covering football over at fantasyguru.com. We're still doing DFS. We're still doing the bets. We'll have our Super Bowl betting guide out soon. If it's not out, is it out yet? I think it's out. It'll come out soon if it didn't already drop yesterday or something. We'll have that out. I'll continue to write my Super Bowl, my matchup preview piece. Tyler Beaker will write his articles. We'll discuss again things from the, let's see here. Has it come out yet? Maybe it hasn't come out yet. I'll have to further find out. We have a Super Bowl betting guide, a huge thing that talks about all the bets, and the staff gets involved in the whole thing like that. So we'll have our confidence pool as we continue to do that throughout the NFL season. But we're still covering football over at fantasyguru.com. We're also covering baseball. Yes. Baseball product is available at fantasyguru.com. The description below has the link. You can go to fantasyguru.com, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up. Go to the homepage of fantasyguru.com, scroll down a little bit. There's a blue box in the middle of the page. If you scroll down a little, click on the View MLB Draft Guide tab. That takes you to the homepage for the draft guide where we link all the main articles. So make sure you bookmark that. If you have any questions about the product at all, click an email, send an email, over to support@fantasyguru.com. As you can see there on the screen, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit before diving into one of the articles. We got a lot of rankings. I know rankings are life to people. And for a long time, I kind of be like, and it's like, well, now let's just go with it, right? We have an article called Rankings, which is me talking about food and drinks and dating, like the best of the best. So that's a fun spin on rankings. But the main baseball rankings are, we have the NL only, AL only, mixed league rankings. All 3 of those are also covered in auction format. So we have auction dollar values for AL only and only in mixed league too. All 3 of those sets of rankings are up and available right now. They'll be updated all the way through the preseason as needed, which might mean on a daily basis. Oh, I got to give that a look here. Good idea, Ray. Thank you for reminding me, Ray. All throughout the preseason, they'll then lock with game 1 of the regular season, and we'll update the whole entire thing during the All-Star break for the second half of the season. We also have points league rankings, which are posted and available at fantasyguru.com. So if you're in a points league, We got you covered. Dynasty League rankings are posted and available over at fantasyguru.com. On base percentage rankings, posted and available at fantasyguru.com. Rookie rankings will come out next week. Okay, so next week we'll have our rookie section. The solds rankings, by the way, the rookie rankings will be the top 50 rookies. We'll do a whole week of rookies. So we'll review last year's top 50 rookies. We'll give scouting reports for this year's hitting rookies, this year's pitching rookies, and then we'll have our top 50 rookies for 2026. We'll have that. I'm trying to see this. The solds rankings are set to start rolling out on February 11th. So we have solds rankings for you over at fantasyguru.com. We've got category rankings for hitters, which I'm working on right now. We have category rankings for pitchers, which I'm working on right now, which will be available over at fantasyguru.com. Our our stat provider's got a projection system that they use. So we have projections on the rankings page, not done by me or anyone that works for fantasyguru.com, but we have a series of projections over at fantasyguru.com for those of you that love playing the projections game. We'll talk more about that in a second. There's a whole list of the projections from our provider. What I will do is I will also rank in these categories, the 5x5 traditional categories, rank from 1 to 100, other than like the saves category, which will only go to 50. Rank from 1 to 100 each category, my thoughts. So I won't give you Trey Turner's going to hit 327. I won't give you that Kyle Schwarber's going to hit 243, right? I won't do that. But I will rank the players from 1 to 100 who's got the best chance to have the highest batting average on down, right? Same thing for home runs, same thing for RBIs, steals, runs scored, wins, ERA, whip, saves, strikeouts, all of that. So we'll have those category rankings out, and those are available this week, later this week. When do those come available? Those are available on the weekend. We also have the closer grid coming out on February 1st. That's not rankings, but we'll have the closer grid that's available on February 1st as well. So we got a lot of rankings here. We'll have the draft book coming out. We'll talk more about that as we get a little bit closer. I know some of you are draft book fans. I hate the draft book, but we'll talk more about it. It's when you combine the rankings. It's basically a cheat sheet for the draft. So it has the rankings by position as well as auction values all jammed in a little bit of a different format than you're used to seeing if you haven't been with us before. It's a really, really cool tool. It's not a tool that I use or tell people to use, and I will explain why that is when we get closer to the release of that. But it's basically it's 2 sheets. So instead of having to have all those rankings, and it's very simple, which people love, a combination of rankings and auction values. So Rubby says he loves the draft book, and I hate the draft book. I think it's a bad tool. I think Jeff Mann should have never invented it. Go, Jeff Manns. It's a lot of work, but that's not why I don't like it. And again, I'll explain why it is. I just think it can be misleading. But we'll get to that when we get to it. But it's a tool that a lot of people like, and if it works for you, it's why we provide it. If it works for you, use it. Okay? I have a way I do things. You have a way you do things. My way is not better than yours. My way is just different than yours. And if the draft tool that you use is the draft book and it works for you, bang it out. Keep using it. So we'll get more into that once we get a little bit closer. So that's what we got. So we've got the AL, NL, mix, points, dynasty, on-base percentage rankings all available right now. To come, sold rankings, rookie rankings, category rankings. And don't forget, we did just announce yesterday, or no, 2 days ago, Saturday. Don't know what day of the week it is already, and it's only Monday. Saturday, we released our best ball rankings from Scott Bonder. So we also have best ball rankings. Let's not forget that. That's not on the sheet on the screen here. We have best ball rankings over at fantasyguru.com. So head over to fantasyguru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Oops, backwards. Top right corner of the page. You can't see my hand. There it is. Sign up for the baseball product. If you want everything we cover besides football and baseball, that's the MVP plan. So right now, the seasonal baseball product is available. Remember, you can sign up now. We're live every day. We're posting articles every day. We will until the season begins. That product goes throughout the season. So you sign up now, you get coverage all the way to October. We're still doing the football that we've talked about. If you want to have anything we do other than those 2 sports, you want the MVP plan over at fantasyguru.com. And that includes a ton of stuff. I always forget things, but it includes hockey, basketball, NASCAR, PGA, MMA, horse racing, tennis. I never say tennis. We cover tennis. Tennis, and a lot of other things. That's the MVP plan. So click on the subscribe tab in the top right corner for all the other sports besides football and baseball. That is the MVP plan. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about projections. I mentioned them a couple of times here on the show. We do have a full article over at fantasyguru.com that just was posted this morning, projections. And I've told this story many times. We've all been there. We love it, right? You run to when I was a kid, I always give this example. I'd run to the bookstore, pull the magazine off the shelf, the fantasy baseball magazine. I'd buy all of the ones they had, right? If it was 1 or 3 or whatever. Flip to the page and, oh, this magazine says Darryl Strawberry's going to hit 27 home runs. This one says 29. And then my friends and I would debate, right? Not knowing anything. He's going to hit 25. Oh, I think he hits 30, that kind of thing, right? We used to all do that. And so I think a lot of the projection stuff is a carryover of that. At least that's in my opinion. There are a lot of people, I think, that leaned so heavily on the projection models because they think it gives them an advantage. Now, here's the real problem. And again, there's a multi-thousand-word article, Fantasy Baseball Projection Models in 2026. You can see the link there on the screen or below in the description as well. Or if you go to fantasyguru.com and you scroll down in the middle on that homepage, find the blue section, right? Click View the MLB Draft Guide. You can find the link there. There's a group of people that seemingly think that, and I know a lot of people that are very successful at fantasy baseball, that in my opinion lean way too heavily on rankings. Well, Ray, they're successful at it. Yeah, but remember, it's not just about, remember multiple things. One, it's not that hard to be successful if you're in 20 leagues. You're going to win a couple leagues if you do 20 leagues. Secondly, there's a lot more involved than just drafting, right? There's the waiver wire. There's the trade market. There's playing matchups in season. There's a lot of other things that go into winning a fantasy league other than just the draft too. But there are a lot of people that will sit here and say, this projection model is better. This is better. I'm not going to vouch for Steamer or Zips or the Bat or ATC or others. They're all available. If you want to use them, match them, compare them, add them all up and divide by 4 or whatever. You can do all these kind of things. But my basic story is this. I have been involved with behind the scenes. I've been involved with people who do projections. I've been involved with people who create projections. I've been involved with magazine work. I've been involved with radio work. I've been involved with website work. I've done everything at some point in the last 25 plus years here, right? So I know how this works. And what normally happens is the projection model says this guy's going to hit 30 home runs. Darryl Strawberry's going to hit 30 home runs this year. And the projection model says 30. I do the rankings over at fantasyguru.com or wherever I'm working at the time. I wouldn't be at FG at the time. I'd be with baseball.com or whatever, right? Actually, fantasybaseball.com I used to work for, fantasybaseball.com. And the projection model that we have says 30 home runs for Darryl Strawberry. I have him ranked 19th in the outfield. He can't have 30 home runs and have 90 RBIs and score 85 runs and still 14 bases like the projection model says, because if he does that, he's outfielder 12. So what do? Do we say, okay, I'm going to change the rankings? I'm going to bump him up from 19 to 12? Do we say we're going to change the projections? Well, we're going to, instead of hitting 30 home runs, we're going to pull that back to 25. We're going to dip his RBIs down to 81. We're going to take his run score down to 79. Now he's outfielder at 19. Like, how do we just take a little of the projections, take a couple home runs off, a couple RBIs, bump him up a couple spots, and instead of 12 or 19, which is where the two of us have him ranked, we just put him at 16 in the middle. So I've been involved where these discussions occur, and oftentimes you just go 16 in the middle. So neither side wins. Both sides amend what they have, so you're not necessarily getting, not all the time, the actual projection anyway, because there's been some maneuvering behind the scenes, some fudging to put it together. Also, to think this way when it comes to projections. It's not as simple. A lot in football, right? Bo Nix gets hurt. Jared Stidham comes in. The Broncos still going to throw the ball 35 times. What did they throw it? 31 times, whatever the hell it was yesterday. It was 31, 33. What was it yesterday? Let me pull this up. It's bothering me now. 31 times. They're still going to throw the ball 35 times. They would have thrown the ball 35 times except for the weather, right? Okay. So they're going to throw the ball 35 times, whether it's Stidham or Nix. In baseball, that's not how this works, right? Darryl Strawberry gets hurt. who's now taking his spot in the lineup? Well, whoever is taking his spot in the lineup is not now batting cleanup for the Mets, right? They're probably going to hit 7 or 8. So that means they're getting less plate appearances than Darryl Strawberry would. Chances are, if Darryl Strawberry is down, there's not a great option on the bench that they feel comfortable playing every day. So the Mets then will say, all right, we're going to do a lefty-righty split. So now those 4.1 plate appearances a game that Darryl Strawberry gets, well, 3 of them are going to this guy and 1 are going to this guy. So now we've got a scenario where the replacement for Strawberry hits lower in the order, so he gets fewer plate appearances overall. The replacement for Strawberry is not 1 guy, it's 2 guys. Why does this matter? Projection models can't account for injuries, and we know guys are going to get hurt. Okay? As someone doing projections, you have to say the right field spot for the Yankees is going to have 162 games and 600 plate appearances. And that's all you can do, right? You can't give 1,000 plate appearances to the right fielder of the Mets. Can't do it. It's got to be 162 games and 600 plate appearances, right? So if Strawberry in your projection model is playing 140 games and getting 550 of those plate appearances, the backup guys, they're getting 50 plate appearances. That's all there is there. When Strawberry gets hurt, if he hurts himself in game 1, changes everything, right? So all the projection model that you're seeing is now completely invalid. So one injury to a player doesn't affect just the player that gets hurt in a projection model. It affects multiple, in most instances, multiple other players, right? Don't also forget that if Strawberry goes down with an injury and this replacement comes in and is batting 7th or 8th, someone that's batting 6th is now batting 5th, and someone that's batting 5th is now batting 4th. So now they're higher in the batting order. They have increased, theoretically, their opportunity for run production. They've certainly increased their opportunity for plate appearances. So now their projection has to change too, right? So the bottom line is when you draft players or put a team together for players or you're looking at projection models, the projection model is a snapshot right now of a best case scenario, and the world doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. There's no chance it's going to work that way. We all know we play fantasy sports a weekend. We're pissed off because our second round draft pick sprained his ankle. There's no way it's going to work that way. So projection models are very volatile for that obvious reason. Secondly, and this is also written about in the article and given details with graphs and the whole thing. Not graphs, JPEGs, I guess. But the fact is that most projection models play the middle. They play the middle. No one's going to say that Darryl Strawberry, if you were to look at 4 or 5 sources back in the day, it would be from 25 to 32 home runs. Every one of them. None of them would have the guts to say he's going to play a full season and hit 19 home runs. None of them had the guts to say, well, he's only going to play 108 games this year because he's going to get hurt and hit 19 home runs. None of them had the guts to say he was going to set a Mets record and hit 49 home runs this year. None of them did that. They all said 25 to 32, and they still do that today. There are a few players, and we give the example of Framber Valdez in the article. Framber Valdez is extremely consistent. Logan Webb is extremely consistent. There are players that are extremely consistent year to year. So there is more of a reason to support a tightly bunched group of projections for those kind of players. But the fact is most players aren't that way, number one. And number two, that's not how the world works. And as I give the examples in the article, it's like, why are all of these models, why are they all saying his ERA is going to be the same? Why are they all saying his win total is going to be the same? Why are they all saying his innings pitch total is going to be the same? Why? Because they're all playing the middle. There are a lot of very good projection models out there. Some of them are expensive. Some of them are inexpensive. There is a lot to be said for, Marcel the Monkey, which I list in the article, which is basically take the last 3 years of performance, divide by 3. It's not that far off what a lot of the results end up being. Finally, what is an accurate projection? I don't know how this whole thing became about Darryl Strawberry. I have no idea because I was not even thinking about Darryl Strawberry until the show began. I don't know. His name just came up when I gave my example. So Darryl Strawberry it is. Certainly not in the article. Certainly isn't on the show plan. It's not what I was expecting to talk about again. But okay, Darryl Strawberry, 63. He'll be 64 in March. Does he seem that old? God, I'm getting old. For those who don't remember, 6'6", 220, the star of the Mets, He did hit 39 home runs with 100 RBIs in 2 seasons. He actually went 39-36 one year, right? 39-36 one year, 39-29 the following year. The year before went 27-28. So for a 3-year period of time, he averaged 30-30. Anyway, Darryl Strawberry, let's say our projection was for him to hit. Here's a good example. So Darryl Strawberry goes 35, 100, 100 with 30 steals in consecutive seasons. All right. So then the next year we say, what's he going to do? He's going to go 35, 100, 25 steals. Okay. Let's say he goes 35 home runs, perfectly matching our expectation. Let's say it's 100 RBIs, perfectly matching our expectations. Let's say he has 100 runs scored, perfectly matching our expectations. Let's say he hits 270, perfectly matching our expectations. But what if we had thought he was going to steal 25 to 30 bases and he steals 12? What if he tweaks his hamstring or ankle early in the season and he steals 5 bases? Keeps playing, stays in the lineup, but just doesn't run anymore. So we've 100% basically nailed batting average, home runs, RBIs, runs scored. So for 80% of our projection, we're perfect. We did an excellent, fantastic job. We couldn't have been better. We almost exactly told you what those 4 categories were going to be. But what if he steals 5, 7 bases instead of the 27 we were expecting? His fantasy value, way lower than we were telling you in the preseason. The production he brought to your team, way off what you needed because you drafted him for his overall game, which included the 20 extra steals you didn't get, that you didn't draft from other spots in your lineup because you thought you were getting them from him, right? So the roster construction was changed because you didn't think you needed those extra 20 steals. Well, you needed those damn extra 20 steals. You didn't get them. Are you going to think that projection is accurate or not? Remember, 4 of the 5 categories we're talking about here, you nailed it. You would tell me that projection wasn't very good because A, you lost 20 steals, which is the hard category to really fill back in the day. It was a hard category back to fill when everyone was hitting 25 home runs. And secondly, you would also tell me it's not good because, hey, Ray, you projected him to be a $32 player. He's only a $26 player. How good was that projection? So then we get into the battle of trying to predict, where is the projection on or off, and how off can it be when it's actually on and for you to be excited? And Ethan brings up a great point. Everyone knew that the stolen base total for Ohtani would pull back. Remember, he went 50-50 in 2024. Almost went 55-60. It was one of the greatest seasons of all time. So everyone said, okay, he went 50-50. So what were the expectations? 40-30? Let's say he really pulls back 40-30. Well, he had 55 home runs, set a career high there, so we killed that. He way overproduced there. Gave us 15 more home runs than we expected. But he stole 20 bases, which would be 50% less than we expected, which is also 1/3 of what he had the year before. Is that an accurate projection? And remember, what if that happens to multiple guys? What if Darryl Strawberry loses 25 steals? What if Shohei Ohtani loses the 20 steals, right? What if Byron Buxton loses 15 steals? Well, all of a sudden now you're down 20, 30, 40, 50 steals from where you were. If you're down 50 steals, you've dropped 6 spots in the rankings. It's a huge difference. So remember with projection models that I just caution people not to be overly invested in them. I know a lot of people, that's all they talk about. It's all they care about. It's all, it's all the rage, right? But be careful because they can be accurate, but not really help you in the fantasy game. They can be perfectly accurate today, but then player A gets hurt. What happens? How many times does this happen to you? Player A gets hurt, you pick up player B, then player B gets hurt. So now we're down to player C. How often does that happen? A lot, right? Back to our Darryl Strawberry example. Maybe the guy that comes in to replace Darryl Strawberry it's not, but I'm going Mets here. What if it's Wally Backman, who they moved to the outfield? And Wally Backman matches the 15 steals that, Darryl Strawberry was going to have. He matches the 270 batting average perfectly, but he hits 9 home runs. Totally different player, right? That also can factor into this too, right? So anyway, be cautious with the projection model. There's way more about this over at fantasyguru.com. Way more about it for those people who want to read and study it a little bit more. But just be careful with projection models. I think a lot of people get a little over their skis, if you will, in the old projection model game. All right, let's talk some news and notes here. Remember, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all week long, we're here with you at Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com, 12 to 1 Eastern, roughly an hour each day, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio's Elite Sports Show with Jeff Manns. That show includes me on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. When I'm not here Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Justin Fensterman hosts this show. So check us out. I've got all the football product. The football still rocking and rolling over at fantasyguru.com. Got the baseball product is rolling and active at fantasyguru.com. The basketball product, which is basically Justin Fensterman, that's part of the MVP plan that we talked about earlier. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. If you have any questions about any of the products, don't send the email address for the company, support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com. Don't send them an email asking about rankings. Don't send them an email asking when an article is going to be written. Don't send them rankings about, the morning show. Or if you have questions about the product, which product do I buy? Which level do I buy? How do I get 2 of the 3 baseball products? Remember, we do seasonal DFS and wagering. I'm involved with all 3. I want to add all 3. Well, then get the VIP plan. That's fine. You just get all 3. Boom, you're done. You get everything we cover for baseball. But maybe you've already got the football product and you've got your football VIP and you want to combine this for baseball. If you have any questions about that, those are the kind of questions you send. You can't access an article. It's not working. Something's wrong. Support@fantasyguru.com. All right. News and notes here. We got the news that over the weekend that Jose Altuve, the longtime second baseman of the Astros, who's obviously played a bunch of outfield of late. Last year, he played 47 games in left field, 66 at second base, DH 49 times, actually. We got the report that he's going to basically return to full-time work at second base. Now, the good news is second base is more difficult than outfield, right? We all know that. He qualifies at both. Again, he's played 47 at both spots last year. It won't change anything. If he has another solid season this year, we'd much rather have him in 2027 as a second baseman anyway. The plan is for him to play second base, but he will be dual position eligible in all leagues, I would assume, this year. So nothing changes with Altuve, really. But this is good news because as he ages and his offense continues to slip and slide a little bit, he's 35 already, right? Yeah, he's 35. He'll be 36 in May. Still went 25, 75, 75 with 10 steals. Like, he's still a very good player. Those numbers at second base play. Those numbers in the outfield, But he's going to be the second baseman this year. Now, remember, I mentioned he played almost 50 games at DH last year. Now, that obviously is not an ideal scenario for them. They'd love to have Yordan Alvarez, I think, at this point, basically just DH, because I don't know how much they want him in the field because he's always hurt. But they rest Altuve a little bit. They DH'd him a little bit. So there's opening at second base. Last year, Isaac Paredes, who had that hamstring injury late and missed all that time down the stretch, he played 89 games at third base. Can also play first base, but they still have Christian Walker right now. So we're hearing that Isaac Paredes is going to get some work at second base this year. This could be one of those stories we hear in the offseason that doesn't amount to anything. There could be injuries. The Astros could make a trade. Paredes could just settle in at third base. Well, wait, maybe he can't because now they have Carlos Correa at third base. So, yeah, that's right. So Paredes, are they going to trade Walker? There's stories about them trading Walker, trying to trade Walker, but I guess the market's not very strong for him after a moderate season last year. So the bottom line is Paredes is going to play every day if he's healthy. I mean, I don't think that's anything but the truth. He had 20 home runs last year in 102 games. Easily should be a 25 to 30 home run guy with his swing in that ballpark in Houston. Could he add second base eligibility? Maybe. Don't draft him for it because, again, this could be a scenario where it doesn't play out at all, but something to think about with him. It's a nice little intriguing cherry on top of the proverbial sundae. Sal Stewart of the Reds is somebody that a lot of people are interested in. Why? Because he can hit. There ain't no doubt about that. We've got Brian Hayes at third base, though, and so that removes third base really from Sal Stewart's playbook this year. So he's probably going to have to be the DH to start the year. Now, he played 17 games last year. If you look at his games played by position, 6 at third base, 11 at first base. Almost every league, even if a guy doesn't play a full amount of games, like he didn't play 20 games, so technically your league might have him say as UT only. It's possible. But most leagues, when a guy doesn't play 20 games at any position, they will default to the position he played the most as his position heading into the season, which would mean Sal Stewart would qualify as a first baseman to begin the year. But check your league settings. Could be UT only because, again, he didn't play 20 games in any spot, but he should be available as the first baseman. He'll probably play DH. Gavin Lux was traded away. So there we go. He hit 300 last year with a 380 on base percentage, 520 slugging. He almost went 20-20 in AA and AAA. He lost 20 pounds this offseason, which can't hurt his ability to steal a base. Could hurt his ability to drive the ball? Maybe. 20 pounds is a significant amount. I talk about this a lot too, that when you change your body structure and composition, and I know because I lost 30 pounds between my 17 and 18-year-old year. I've told the story many times. All of a sudden I could dunk. True story. Couldn't jump very well as a 17-year-old junior in high school. As a senior in high school, I could dunk because I lost 30 pounds. I could one-hand dunk, two-hand dunk. I could reverse dunk. I could jump because I took a 30-pound weight off. So I was told, and again, I was not a pro athlete, but I could totally change. So losing 20 pounds changes your swing. Maybe it changes your ability to drive the baseball a little bit. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all in the case of Sal Stewart, but I'm just saying something to monitor because that's a significant change in one off season. But anyway, he's got the ability to hit 20 home runs right now. He should be able to steal double-digit bases. The Reds like to run. He almost stole 20 bases last year. Let's give him a 22 home run, 10, 12 steal season, something like that. So he's intriguing. So keep him on the radar, especially if we get the clarity that he is indeed going to get that DH spot on a full-time basis for the Reds. Something to think about here as we're early in the preseason, I guess. Preseason still. Pitchers and catchers. Oh, by the way, still working on things behind the scenes. Getting exciting. All right, working on some things. Might have an announcement next week. Working on some things. Justin Steele threw off the mound for the first time last week since undergoing surgery on his UCL, the ulnar collateral ligament in his elbow. He's been throwing since October, but he finally got on the mound last week. Positive reports there. First time he's done that. There is time from when was his actual surgery date? Let's pull this up. There is a reasonable expectation right now that he will start for the Cubs in a fairly significant manner this year. He could probably start in the first half. Yeah, his surgery was April 18th. So if he continues to hit milestones and do well, there's a chance that Steele could be out there in May, June, certainly before the All-Star break. Certainly possible. Could be a hiccup. Some guys who have that Tommy John surgery is 10 to 14 months. That's kind of the general 10 to 12 months. So it's possible, and we've seen this happen with other pitchers, it's possible that there's a blip or a hiccup and he's not available till the second half. But it really does look like right now that Justin Steele could be available in the first half for the Cubs, and maybe even as early as May. Pretty good news there for the lefty of the Cubs. Andrew McCutchen says, hey, man, I still like to play baseball. Andrew McCutchen said, hey, man, I'd love to play for the Astros, excuse me. He might like to play for the Astros, I don't know. But I'd love to play for the Pirates yet again. Hey, yeah, I know I'm 39 years old. He turns 40. He'll be 40 after the season ends. So he's 39 for the course of this season. He's 39, former MVP level player. He was spectacular fantasy player for a long time. And last year, he didn't do much. But he did have a 333 on base percentage. He was a basically league average offensive performer, and it's the Pirates. Like, what are the Pirates going to do? Right? So he basically said to the Pirates, I'd love to keep playing, and, if you guys want me, I'm kind of here, and we'll see what happens. His work against lefties last year, he was still league average, 740 OPS against lefties, a fan favorite, a guy who's been with this team forever. He's played a decade of baseball, basically, with the team from Pittsburgh. Kind of a little disappointed that the Pirates haven't really reached out. He went on social media over the weekend and kind of said, look, I would have loved to have been part of FanFest if this is going to be my last year and all that. And so it sounds like he wants to play, but it's unclear if the Pirates want him to play. I don't know. You think the Pirates, it's not going to take $18 million to sign Andrew McCutchen. You think the Pirates will want to have some goodwill, but hey, who am I? But that door, I guess, is still open, even if it's only cracked open slightly, because it doesn't sound like the Pirates are a huge fan of the move at the moment. Mets assigned Craig Kimbrel to a minor league contract with an invitation to spring training. Kimbrel is a dominant all-time great in the bullpen. If he's not an all-time great, he's damn close. And you hear that and you say, Ray, 10th all-time in ERA plus, 500 career innings. Dominant strikeout numbers. Hundreds of saves. Yeah, 400 saves. How many saves does he have? Let me pull this up. Craig Kimbrel. Bottom line is Craig Kimbrel signed with the Mets. We'll see if his control is solid. He's got a chance. Yeah, 440 saves for his career. By the way, in 4 of the last 5 years, he's had 20 saves. It doesn't seem like that at all, does it? Does it? Last year he had no saves, only pitched 14 games. We'll see if he can make the big league squad. I'm kind of rooting for him at this point because it's like, no, this is a veteran. Let's get him out there. Let's get him another solid season. Velocity was 97, 98 in his heyday. Last year it was 94. It was 94 in 2024. So obviously he's not the pitcher he once was. But hey, it's a good story. Let's root him on through spring training. Hope he can find a way to pull off a run to the Mets opening day roster. And then finally, Darvish. He had elbow surgery. He's got a long road to recovery, obviously. He's 39 years old. He's got 3 years and $43 million left. Now, he's 39. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars, I think, at this point. He doesn't need the money. It's like, I don't know. Like, it's, you're rehabbing this year. Okay, right? So, all right, that gets you free money for a year in essence. Again, not that you need it, but it's the Padres. They're a good team. They got a good vibe. San Diego's a beautiful place. I'd love to move to San Diego. It's a beautiful spot. Darvish had his surgery on the 29th of October. So, yeah, he won't pitch this year. So, you can have surgery and just live a normal life, or you can have surgery and rehab. And he hasn't really decided what he wants to do yet. There was a report over the weekend that said he's going to retire. And his representatives came out and said, no, we haven't decided that yet. So he may or may not retire. He almost certainly won't pitch this year regardless, so it doesn't matter for the fantasy perspective or from a Padres perspective. He's 39 years old, still an effective pitcher. And much like Andrew McCutchen, it's like, hey, this guy wasn't what he once was, but still effective. Last year, still had a 1.18 whip. The ERA was high, but he had a 1.18 whip over 15 starts. That's not bad. Sierra was 3.9. XFIP was 4.2, still league average, right? So it's up to him. But the rumors of him retiring, if you're a big Darvish fan, take a breath. There's still a chance he's going to pitch in the future. We just don't know yet. So that's kind of where we're at. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share with everybody today. Remember, FG, rocking and rolling right now. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. We've had articles coming up on a daily basis. We'll continue to do that throughout the season. We have the history of the first round article go up today. We might even talk about that on the show later this week. I don't know, but I would encourage everyone to read that. We're not as good as we think we are at picking players, even in the first round. So that article went up today. I'm an Ace, a look at pitchers in ERA plus, Sierra, and XFIP. That article went up today. We talked about the fantasy projection models. The best ball rankings went up over the weekend. We're rocking and rolling the rest of the week here. Let me pull the schedule up before we shut things down here. Average bases allowed tomorrow. ABA. What is ABA? Well, I created ABA, and it's better than WHIP. And in fact, it should replace WHIP. WHIP is time is come and gone. I'm not saying that flippantly. I'm being honest. ABA is a better judge of pitching than WHIP. Article will be up over at Fantasy Guru tomorrow. SWIP, strikeouts minus walks divided by innings pitched. That'll be up the following day. We'll then do strikeouts minus walks. Really important category. I talk about it all the time. We'll do an article on Stuff Plus, ballpark factors article as well. And then over the weekend, category rankings for hitters, category rankings for pitchers. And on February 1st, the closer grid over at fantasyguru.com. So thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Tell a friend, spread a word about the free show. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner, get signed up. Remember, we can be found in podcast form at Fantasy Guru. Click the Elite Plus tab on that toolbar at the top. Type in Fantasy Sports Daily where you listen to podcasts. And then the 3 places that you can watch the show live, youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Twitter X @Fantasy Guru site, facebook.com/Fantasy Guru HQ. In all 3 of those places, you can get involved with us by watching live on demand and asking questions and leaving comments throughout the show. Enjoy your Monday. Stay safe, everybody. Stay warm. Reach out, help a friend if they need it. We're here to help you alleviate some of the stress that the world brings you by having some good times with us at fantasyguru.com and here on the show. I am Ray Flowers. Social media is at the Ray Flowers. Justin Fenson will be here the next couple of days. I'll return on Thursday and Friday. Because remember, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I'm with Jeff Mans on the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great start to your week, folks. Hope you had a great weekend. And we'll be back again here with you tomorrow on Tuesday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.